Long ago, in the heart of what is now North Sumatra, there lived a humble fisherman named Toba. He lived alone in a small wooden hut near a quiet river that flowed through the lush green valley. Each morning he cast his net into the water, whispering prayers to the river spirits for a good catch. But most days, he returned with only a few small fish, barely enough to fill his empty stomach. The people in nearby villages knew little about him. He was quiet, distant, a man of few words. Some said he was cursed with endless solitude. Yet, behind his weathered face was a heart that longed for companionship. And perhaps, destiny was listening. One morning, when the mist had just begun to lift, Toba felt a sudden tug on his net, stronger than ever before. He pulled with all his might, and what emerged left him frozen in disbelief. Inside the net shimmered a golden fish, its scales glowing like molten sunlight. It looked at him, yes, looked, with eyes that seemed almost human. Then a soft voice echoed from the water. "Please, kind fisherman, let me go. I am not an ordinary fish." Toba staggered back, terrified. He dropped the net, heart pounding. "What are you?" he gasped. "Release me, and your kindness will not be forgotten," the fish pleaded. Moved by the voice, and by something deep inside he couldn't explain, Toba gently placed the fish back into the river. The moment its tail touched the water, a blinding light unflashed. When Toba opened his eyes, the fish was gone, and in its place stood a beautiful woman. Her skin radiant, her hair flowing like black silk. "You have freed me from my curse," she said softly. "I was once a princess of the underwater kingdom. For breaking a sacred law, I was turned into a fish until a kind heart released me." Toba stood speechless. The woman smiled, then said, "But remember this. If you ever tell anyone that I was once a fish, misfortune will come upon us." He nodded. He didn't understand why, but his soul told him to trust her. Days passed, and soon Toba and the mysterious woman grew close. They spoke for hours beside the river, shared meals, and laughed under the moonlight. She was unlike any woman he had ever known, wise, gentle, and with a mysterious sadness in her eyes. One evening, she said softly, "Toba, I wish to stay with you if you can keep your promise." And so they were married, in a quiet ceremony witnessed only by the trees and the river. Their love brought color to Toba's once lonely world. He worked harder than ever, catching more fish, building a larger hut, and smiling like never before. The villagers began to notice. "The lonely fisherman has found joy," they whispered. A year later, they were blessed with a son. They named him Samosir, after the valley where he was born. Samosir grew into a bright, curious boy. He loved running through the rice fields, chasing dragonflies, and asking endless questions about the world. But as he grew older, he also grew mischievous. He often disobeyed his mother, refused to help his father, and sometimes wandered off for hours without telling anyone. Toba, now older and often tired, began to lose his patience. Still, his wife always said gently, "He's just a boy, Toba. Be patient. He will learn." Toba nodded, though in his heart he felt something was changing, an unease he couldn't explain. One hot afternoon, Toba returned from fishing under the scorching sun. He was exhausted, carrying a heavy basket of fish, dreaming only of the meal waiting at home. But when he arrived, the table was empty, not a single grain of rice left. Samosir sat nearby, wiping his mouth, crumbs on his lips. "Samosir," Toba shouted, "did you eat all the food?" The boy lowered his head. "I was hungry, father." "You selfish boy." "I work all day, and this is how you repay me?" Anger clouded Toba's mind. In a moment of rage, he shouted the words he was never meant to say. You are the ensign of a fish." The words echoed through the valley like thunder. For a brief second, silence. Then the sky darkened, wind roared. Clouds rolled in like angry beasts. Toba's wife appeared at the doorway, her eyes glowing with sorrow and power. "Toba," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you broke your promise." I didn't mean to. The curse cannot be undone." She turned toward her son, tears falling. My dear Samosir, forgive me. The time has come. Rain began to pour, heavy, endless rain. The ground trembled. Thunder cracked the sky open. Water rose from the river, overflowing into the valley. Toba tried to hold on to them, but a massive wave separated them. Toba! She cried as her form began to fade into mist. And in that instant, the river exploded into a raging flood. For days and nights, the rain never stopped. Villages disappeared beneath the water. Trees and hills vanished under the rising flood. Toba climbed to the highest hill he could find, calling out his wife's and son's names. But only the sound of thunder replied. When the storm finally ended, everything had changed. The valley had turned into a vast, shimmering lake. And in the middle of that lake lay a small island, where Samosir once stood. Toba fell to his knees, weeping. Some say he never left that place again. Others say he turned to stone, guarding the lake for eternity. Centuries passed, but the story lived. The people who came after called the great body of water Lake Toba, and the island within it Samosir Island. Even today, the wind that brushes across the lake carries whispers of that promise, a vow broken, a love lost, and a curse that created one of the world's greatest wonders. And so the legend remains, a reminder that words have power, promises must be kept, and love once betrayed can move the very earth.